Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today I will be reviewing Chanel's newly launched Les Exclusifs Eau de Parfum concentration fragrance called 1957. Where is it? Here it is. You've seen me unbox it on my channel. You've seen all the wonderful things that Chanel has given me. Thank you so much, Chanel. And now you're going to see me talk about it. I've been wearing it the whole day, but so I have it all over my body. I'm wearing short sleeves just for the occasion because I want to have all the space possible to kind of spray it all over myself. Now, okay. It gives me peace and tranquility. The second that I smelled it out, my sales associate called me to the boutique, and as soon as I could, go, I went, and I was asked, so Dacob, have you already smelled it, in New York? And I was like, this thing was available in New York from November, but in November I couldn't be in New York. And we're going to get to the launch and Chanel's marketing strategies in a minute about where it's available, where it's not available. But I wanted to keep a kind of a special moment for me to try it on with my sales associate for the first time. Because usually you get to try these things, when you're traveling or for work or whatever, and then the magic is a little bit gone. But this was really special because I got to try it for the first time then and there. And the second I smelled it, of course it smells synthetic, and of course the musks, and there's supposed to be 8 musks in here, at least 8 of them, they're synthetic. We're used to that, that's fine. But the second I smelled it, I thought to myself, whoa, these aldehydes are intense. These aldehydes are scratchy. This is reminiscent of old school Chanel. Remember when I always tell you in my videos, usually fragrances that today are formulated in a way to be pleasant right off the bat. Head notes are super nice, super easy peasy. Then kind of slowly, as the fragrance progresses, as it fades out, as it dries down, it smells meh or like nothing. And this is a tendency also big perfume houses have been going to because they just want to quickly sell to people that have no time to really spray a fragrance on, give it 40 minutes to an hour to see how it develops on the skin, and then decide whether or not they want to purchase the perfume. Usually perfumes today, don't dare smell complicated in the opening notes because because the brands think the potential clients might not purchase it because the potential clients might think, oh, it doesn't smell good right off the bat. So this one kind of a little bit brings us back to old school Chanel where the aldehydes are so sparkly, they're annoying. They could even be too overpowering, too much of something, but that's good because we've been asked, I haven't really, but a lot of you have been asking for longer lasting Chanel fragrances, longer longevity. Well, now you got it. But you got to also know that if you want more or bigger longevity, you gotta suffer a little bit in the opening notes. And then it kind of everything falls down into place later on throughout the game. Listen. I'm going to say things that might not make any sense to you unless you haven't experienced the same stuff I have. It feels, the first time I smelled it, I felt like I was at the ocean or at the seaside. And you still have that, sun lotion on. Sun lotions usually have a very particular smell. And you've been in the salty water and you're coming out of the water and you've kind of inhaled some of the salty water through your nose and it kind of burns and it's kind of hard to, your whole body's a little bit in a sort of a tilt because it's readjusting, it's cleansing itself. You know how salty water is healthy for you and you're kind of going through that process. Everything is slightly off and it's biting you inside of the nose. And yet you have still on your skin that residue of the lotion that you put on before you went into the water. That's the first emotion that 1957 gave me. And it's not really early in the day. We're talking like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So the sun is, of course, still up. It's summer. But it's slowly kind of starting to, go down and everything is warmer and there's a nice breeze and there's still the heat, and you have all that salt from, swimming all day, but you still have also the layers of lotion and salty water and lotion and salty water. And everything is kind of mixed up. So and then you inhale that water by accident, and it burns the nose a little. That's kind of the instant sense you get if you really dig your nose deep into what you sprayed on your skin. It's not easy. You might not like it immediately, you know. For me, it was like, oh, that was the first visual I got. The second visual I had was sniffing it from a distance, opening notes, and I was like, okay. So from a distance, this feels like a very, very clean, a little bit more expensive cleaning detergent. Which, of course, if you say that to a very expensive perfume, it's an offense, right? Well, it ain't in this case. I mean, we know that this is chemical. We know that there's a lot of synthetical components in there. And maybe something on my skin from a certain distance kind of tends to smell that way to me. That's fine too. Because guess what? The more time passes and the more this thing opens up to me, and all of these white musks open up to me. But let's get to the notes. So in the top notes, we have coriander, pink pepper, musk. Then we got bergamot and aldehydes. Aldehydes. Middle notes, we got orange blossom, more musk, white musk, jasmine. Base notes, we got vanilla. Vanilla, which in Chanel, you never really smell the vanilla. The only place where you can really sense out that vanilla is a little bit in the dry down of Jersey. Also, les Exclusifs eau de toilette, eau de parfum, let's not talk about it. Honey, we're gonna get to that honey. So there's vanilla honey, more musk, white musk, cedar, cashmeran, and the orris root. Now those are our base notes. The honey in here is visible, sensible, audible, smellable to me throughout the entire lifespan of 1957. However, most people usually identify the musk in the top, and then on second place is the orange blossom. Now it was so funny because my sales associates showed me kind of a list because they were also taught, like, okay, you know, to divulge the news of this fragrance and how to talk about the fragrance. Nobody told them that there's kind of orange, that there's bergamot, the orange blossom in there. But of course, knowing Olivier Polge, he can't make a fragrance without having some sort of citrusy something going on in there. In this case, he put it in the top note and in the heart of the fragrance. The heart of the fragrance being the orange blossom, top note being the bergamot. Now, that freshness to me is necessary because 8 musks and counting, and who knows how many more they're going to synthetically create for the world of fragrances. Well, they already have, but who knows how many are going to be used in the future in other fragrances. You could drown in a musk. You need that effervescence of citrusy tones to kind of elevate it, and also you need the aldehydes to elevate it. Honey is tricky. Most of you, I know, don't like the honey. Some of you say that the best honey you've ever had was in Bois d'Argent by Christian Dior. Honey can also smell very artificial. Honey can be very cloying. Honey can be dusty. It can be dirty. It can smell ratchet. Here, it goes a little into that dirty direction, but just a little bit, and it goes into that dirty direction in just the right way. Musk in itself, even if you call it the white musk, even if you go into that whiteness of it, the concept of musk, today synthetic again, I'm repeating myself, but even if it were natural, there's a dirtiness to it, obviously. That honey kind of emphasizes on it, but in this case, in this composition, the honey kind of at the same time creates a very interestingly, and this is the word, the adjective that I used at the beginning, I said it's reassuring. If I didn't say it in the beginning, I should have. I'm going to say it now. It makes you feel kind of safe. It's comforting. The honey creates a comfortable bed on top of this beach. There's no sand on this beach. You don't get out of the water all wet and then you get all the sand sticks to your skin. There is no sand. the air is so humid on this beach that it's almost like a balsam, you know, over your skin once you're out of the water. And then you could lay on this weird bed of honey that is not sticky, it's not cloying, but it's more like a blob, if you want. And it just kind of like encapsulates you. So you're dry inside of this bubble or blob of honey, but you're not sticky, and you have enough oxygen. You're not suffocating. But the honey kind of just creates this cocoon, maybe more than a bed, it's like a cocoon, and it drives you over this weird beach that has no sand. I don't know what it has, really. Maybe it's all fur. Maybe we have kind of this musky fur, but it's kind of more silvery than white. And it's dragging you over it, and you're not touching it really. You're never really touching that musk. The honey created that layer between you and the musk. So all you sense all of the time is a concept from a distance of so many, of many facets of musk. But yet you never grasp them, you never really catch them. They're very elusive. And that's why a lot of people, when they first smell 1957, they have this impression of it like, where did it go? Like, I still now, after, I mean, you know, I've been using it quite a bit. Still to date, I have sometimes to look for it. It disappears. It's so bizarre. It's like it comes and goes in waves. Longevity is pretty decent. I smell it the next on my clothes, even the next after 24 hours. On my skin, you know, after maybe, well, I tend to overspray anyway. My chest area, I can smell it even after 10, 12 hours, but like on the hands, it's gone after 6 or 7. But also I have a tendency of washing my hands because I'm doing a lot of stuff out and about. So obviously in that part of the, also if you're wearing like a shirt with longer sleeves, it kind of tends to rub off of the, you know, the areas where you have the perfume. So, but let's say just on the skin, around 8 to 10, and then like 24 on the clothes. It can become overpowering even if you exaggerate with it. You know, if you do too much with it, if you overdo it with the spraying. Now, I have tested it over spraying. When you overspray, that kind of blob or that cocoon that protects you of the honey tends to... strangely enough, the more you spray it, the smaller the cocoon of honey gets. The more you spray 1957, and the thinner that protective layer is around you, surrounding you, and the closer you get to that synthetic musk. And you don't want to get too close to that synthetic musk. At least I don't, because it tends to really scratch my throat. So, and I find it thrilling that this perfume really requires you to know how to dose it. But you got to know how to dose it according to your chemistry and your skin. We all have different noses. We all smell different things, you know. So for me, I kind of found my balance, and I'm loving what 1957 gives me. If I dose it just right, I stay in that honey cocoon, and that honey cocoon is not sticky, and it kind of just glides me over all the musks. And the musks are just a wonderful landscape because, I mean, Olivier says he gives us 8, who knows, maybe even more or less, I don't know, but 8 musks. So you have these kind of 8 different landscapes of nuances of what a musk can be, and the honey is your kind of vehicle. It guides you. So you've just kind of come out of the water, the honey just surrounds your body, you're still very wet, the air is very wet, you feel really comfortable, and you're gliding over this landscape of all of these musks. And you have your freshness, you have your aldehydes, you have your citrus, and you have, most importantly, the vanilla mixed with the orris root. Jacques Paul used to tell us, and this is what he did, the magic that he created for 28 La Pausa, Eau de Toilette. He said the orris root, well, we have iris and orris root in 28 La Pausa, but the orris root is what is magical because unlike any other ingredient, this is Jacques' words, I'm kind of quoting him, but slightly altering, I don't know exact words he used, but you can check it, it's still on YouTube, that interview somewhere. He says, unlike other ingredients, the orris root, so other ingredients, you put it on your skin, and with time, they go through this change, you know, top note, middle note, hard note, whatever, blah, 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 development, and then they fade out. Unlike other ingredients, the orris root starts off almost unsusceptible, unperceptible. You can't really smell it. And with time, it grows more, and blossoms and blooms, and becomes really present on your skin. And he loved that paradox of the orris root. Something similar happens with 1957 and the orris root. I do believe that there's a quite high concentration of orris root in here because as time goes by, and as all the landscapes of the musks slowly mellow down, or slowly kind of, we kind of leave them in the background as we're traveling towards somewhere. But where are we traveling towards? We're traveling towards the orris root. When we arrive to the base, to the real dry down of this perfume, this kind of cocoon of honey just pops, and we fall out, and we fall onto this weird bed of orris root, which looks like a mushroom, an insect. I mean, Google orris root. It's a frickin' looking plant, or part of a plant, and it's leathery. The orris root has leather. It's kind of famous for its powdery, not as powdery as the iris, but most leathery, powdery notes. And Chanel is a master. Chanel perfumes are masterful in recreating this illusion of the leathery orris root. Now, here was still fresh. Here I have the dry down from a couple of hours ago. Very, very fascinating. The honey pops, and really and mind you, I've been wearing this for many, many days. To be able to make a review like this, you can't just smell the perfume for the first time and come to these conclusions. You have to experience it in good weather, in bad weather, daytime, nighttime, when you're in a good mood, when you're in a bad mood, when it's humid, when it's less humid. Like, you got to go through all of it, and you got to re-smell it, and you have to find all the hidden. The structure of this perfume is like a big building, or like a maze, and you have to go through it many, many times to find all the corners that there are in this building, this maze-like building, to be able to kind of find all the little tricks and all the little hidden Easter eggs, if you may. So when you do get to one of those Easter eggs, you go, aha, oh, this is fascinating. One of these Easter eggs to me was to kind of find my way through the labyrinth to the orris root, and when the honey pops, it's gone. At the end, in one of those directions that I took with this travel that I'm on, with 1957, I got to the orris root. I got to this wonderful, clean, powdery, leathery base that is at the end of this journey through 1001 musks. Another little Easter egg there. And you arrive to something very basic, something very simple. It's so interesting to me how, and again, remember what I said at the beginning, like when you first spray on the perfume, sometimes you have the feeling there's this illusion of, is it there? Is it gone? You don't smell it. Then you smell it again. It disappears. It comes back again. Well, the same thing happens at the end. All of a sudden, the musk disappears. But what remains is a memory. And this is the memory of the musk. And this is something very fascinating, because I don't know many perfumes or perfume houses that can really play so intelligently with these ingredients like Chanel can. It's mind-boggling to me how they managed to do it, because I'm smelling in the dry down, right? The orris root. No more honey. No more musk. And yet, the way it's all set up, I'm still smelling a memory of the musk fields. Of course, you can't have musk fields, but we're just envisioning them. You still smell what you went through to get to that orris root. And you're envisioning the memory of how those musks smelled. You're actually smelling a memory of a musk in a fragrance. This is special, because usually fragrances trigger memories of lives long gone or past lives, or trigger memories from your own life that you're living now, you know. But this one manages to trigger a memory of just, 40 minutes ago, when you were kind of traveling through those fields of musks, and then they're gone, and now you don't smell it anymore. But that orris root at the end, mixed with that also vanilla, and also the honey that is not smelling anymore, combined together remind us of the musks. It's amazing. Very poetic. Very reassuring. It makes us feel the past. It makes us feel a certain sadness, because there's nostalgia in there. There's sorrow in there for something that we have lost, but at the same time, we feel we have to learn to let go. And when we learn to let go, only then can new things come to us. Learn to let go, and then something new will come to you. And this perfume, in a subtle way, tells me that story. And it's beautiful because of that. It won't be understood by many. Many people won't get it. But that's okay. That's why it's a Les Exclusifs and it's not a mass release fragrance. Now let's get to the actual name, 1957. So we have the historic, the biggest Chanel store in America, and it's 57th Street something, yada yada. And then, I mean, Chanel is pushing it here. You know, 1957. So 57, also Chanel's arrival to America, her big kind of triumphant return to fashion. America accepted her, so hence France also had to. And then we have the 19 there as well, because 19 August is Chanel's birthday. I'm like, we're pushing it a little too much with these symbolisms of these numbers. I mean, and this is what I was telling you at the beginning, we're going to get to, and I'm getting to it now, this Chanel attitude, you know, like, okay, so we're going to release the perfume to reopen or to open the store, the biggest one in America, and it's in New York. So from November to February, you can only purchase the perfume there, and from then on, you could purchase it in other Chanel boutiques and on Chanel, the website, online, on the e-commerce. Whatever, fine, you know, it's silly. It's very silly. What does it mean? So you're playing with all these numbers. You know, you're 1957, 19 Chanel's birthday. 57 is the year that she went to America, had her triumphant return. 1957 is the combination of the Okay, fine. But then what's the symbolism behind releasing it November in America and then February here? You know, by here I mean the rest of the world. Because America's kind of, well, let's rephrase this. Not in America. You're releasing it only in New York in that one boutique, and then the rest of the world is getting it later. So here, where we are, you get to wait, like it was released like mid-November, right? So half a month approximately, all of December, 1 month, January also, 2.5 months and a couple of days. So let's say almost 3 months of waiting. So what is the symbolism behind that waiting for 3 months? You see, that wasn't thought through. And this is where, if you don't think that through, if you don't deliver a symbolism there as well, then all of the other symbolism that you try to give me forcefully with the name of the number and why you use the number and the number split in two numbers, then it all just collapses, because I just see that you're not really playing, you're not thinking things through, really. Does this fragrance have a tendency of being different from other releases on the market? Every Chanel perfume is different. So question is 1957, does it smell different from all other perfumes that have been launched out there? Yes and no. Musks are nothing new. Synthetic musks are nothing new. Other perfumes use them as well. But what is different is the way that Chanel deals with everything, and kind of just like that blob or bubble or cocoon of honey carried us through the landscapes of musks in its own special way. That's how you should perceive Chanel as well. Chanel is that blob of honey, is that kind of cocoon. It interprets things in its own way. So that's what I would say is different about 1957 if you're going to compare it to other musks, or in particular white musks. Now, let's read quickly through some of the stuff. Not so good, but whatever. Let's read through Chanel's presentation of what this perfume is. Alongside the reopening of the New York boutique on 57th Street, Chanel is celebrating 1957 with a new eau de parfum in the Les Exclusifs de Chanel collection. 1957, the year of Gabrielle Chanel's consecration in America, but also 19, like the day of her birth, and 57, like the street number of the biggest Chanel store in the United States. A creation that builds on an olfactory bridge between France and America, joined by the iconic style, a timeless style, the Chanel style. Her special style is compounded from 3 ingredients: girlishness, comfort, and a generous helping of pearls. In a country where emphasis is on youth and free and easy living, her designs were bound to succeed. This is all a bit forced. Yes, Chanel did have success in America. We also know Chanel had no success at all in American cinema, in Hollywood. So, you know, this is all kind of just pushing it a little bit too much. I'm sitting too low. I have to put a pillow under me to sit higher. This is a bit better. But you know what I mean? they're all kind of milking it as much as they can, and it's just a bit cringy. A modern avant-garde style that gave women freedom to move, an eternally young and modern allure that broke with the codes of the time and shifted the conventions of chic. An art of living with a simplicity that hides a painstakingly crafted complexity, steeped with a luxury that has no need to flaunt or justify itself, except when Chanel goes and puts huge double C logos on everything. That's flaunting. The third Les Exclusifs de Chanel creation, composed by perfumer-creator Olivier Polge in cooperation with the Chanel Laboratory of Fragrance Creation and Development. Now, this is something they started to use when describing perfumes created by Olivier since some time now. They didn't do this with Jacques. It would be Jacques created a perfume for Chanel. Now it's like Olivier Polge is an outsider working together with the Chanel Laboratory of Fragrance Creation. That's kind of awkward. Anyway, 1957 illustrates the mystery of the deceptively simple Chanel style. They say this is the third fragrance that he did for Les Exclusifs. Kind of true. He did Misia, although I do believe Jacques had his way with Misia as well, and then he did Boy. We're going to get to Boy in a minute. And then he did 1957. So these are the three. But then he did Les EAUX, and Les EAUX are not considered to be Les Exclusifs, but they're also kind of exclusive-ish. Okay, illustrates the mystery and deceptively simple Chanel style, a balance of creamy softness, enveloping comfort, and light perfused with discreet power. A fragrance one adopts like a clean skin scent that becomes unique and deeply personal on each wearer. For each fragrance in the Les Exclusifs de Chanel collection, we explore a path we have never taken, explains Olivier Polge. This time I opted to work with musk, more specifically white musks. Their whiteness hides a great complexity, enveloping. They emit a more or less pronounced light and vary in their soft and sensual effects. 1957 is a skin scent that, more than others, is revealed fully on the unique chemistry of each person's skin. I will agree to this to a certain extent. A lot of aspects of 1957 to me are so chemical that they're not going to change with your own chemistry. They're just going to smell like 1957. Some other aspects of 1957 will definitely adopt a different nature according to the chemistry of your own skin. So that, hands down for that. An assembly of 8 white musks, 1957, is structured like a layered composition of transparent, translucent, and opaque veils. An immaculate superposition, comfortable and enveloping, soft, almost cushion-like. Interesting that I had a vision of this cocoon, like I call it more cocoon. Remember I initialized calling it a bed, and then the bed envelops you and becomes this cocoon. One can imagine one of Gabrielle Chanel's beloved pearls, its delicate contours rendered imperceptible by the changing reflections. The matte whiteness of certain musks blends into the iridescent pearl of others. In this interplay of depths, woody, honeyed, spicy, and floral vibrations create a luminous, powerful, and sensual prominence. Vanilla and honey notes thus slip into the white musks, some with a hint of cedar, others with pink pepper, coriander seed, or orange blossom. The full simplicity of whiteness is revealed and magnified, the precision of an expertly crafted and yet abstract trail, free to enhance the skin by diffusing a distinctive and singular scent. 1957 also conjures up a certain idea of America, according to Olivier Polge. What does he know about America? Olivier, stick to, flirting with women and stuff you know. Don't push it, girl. An idea that the country has of fragrance, and particularly with respect to Chanel and No. 5, which has become a model of olfactory inspiration, even for hairsprays and soaps. Girl, the shade. 1957 is a link. It reinterprets American perfumery with the idea that USA has had about French fragrance since No. 5 paved the way. The essence of Chanel is reunited in its trail, filled with comfort and natural elegance, a presence within a chic, refined, personal, and unforgettable discretion. The note from the brand. The fragrance will be available worldwide. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. No, Chanel, no. This is so French. This is so classic French, so arrogant to think that you know how the whole world works and how much the world loves your products and how you've influenced the whole world. But heaven forbid the world were to influence you, France, right? No. This is just so much. And a lot of this is bullshit. But guess what? That's what it is. They're trying really hard to sell us something. I don't agree with this smell of America, or this interpretation or reinterpretation of America, or how do they call it? 1957 is a link. It reinterprets American perfumery with the idea the USA has had about French fragrance. What do you know what the USA has had about? What interpretation? What feeling? I mean, you're French, right? So just, you know, stick to what you know. Don't go kind of digging into other countries' cultures and making it kind of sound like you're interpreting. Just do what you do. Leave all this bow to somebody else, meaning us, the people who actually wear the perfumes. We are the ones who tell the stories. We are the ones who throughout, if we decide to purchase this fragrance, who throughout the world are going to have different experiences with this fragrance. We are the ones who will or will not have visions or stories to tell, or will not live experiences whilst wearing these fragrances. So leave that to us. Don't push forcefully something. It's so crampy and cringy the way that you're pushing these concepts onto us. It's really not good at all. Somebody has to be fired and somebody else should be hired. Isn't it weird how fired, hired, it's the same word, just one little tiny letter makes a world of a difference. Another world of a difference, and now we get to the final part of my review. Boy de Chanel and just Boy, and 1957. This is the first batch ever made of Boy, 0401, purchased like more or less on the day of its release, and this is 1957. They're similar. I see what you're doing, Olivier. Didn't you just mention in your text that with every new Les Exclusifs creation, you guys go for something totally different, looking for a totally new facet of something? Well, these two are kind of the same thing, except you have taken away from Boy everything that was aimed towards the Middle East and Oriental markets, which is where this one performs the best, where it sells the most. America and Europe, they're not really buying it that much. I can't relate to Boy. I'm sorry. 1957 is kind of like Boy Take Two, where when Boy's kind of here in terms of kind of heaviness of the smell, 1957 is up there. It floats above it. It's more elevated. It's more luminous. The aldehydes are more sparkly. It really kind of brings us to that place where Boy could have gone but never really dared to go. Boy was kind of a Les Exclusifs that played it safe for certain markets. Again, I think this works better for Middle East, and 1957 just is more kind of it's a more universal take on musks in general. So if you take away all the Oriental aspects of Boy, you strip it down of that, and you add, you know, the honey and the musks, you get 1957. You will still smell a similarity between. You will also smell differences, obviously, but you will smell a similarity between the two. You will understand that they come from the same family. They're not the same perfume, but to me, it's like Boy was the first kind of step towards what 1957 became. The name 1957. I would not call this 1957. Oh, another thing I don't agree with. To me, this is not a pearly fragrance. It doesn't reflect all the facets of white. And in that respect, it also doesn't go in any way in a sort of concept of white, clean American perfumery. I mean, you know, Estée Lauder to me is more, you know, white linen is white American perfume. Not 1957. It never will be. I don't really sense so much white. There's more gray and honey tones in there, washed with water. So the honey, it's a spring honey, not a summer honey. Summer honeys are more dark in their texture and the color. Spring honeys from spring flowers are more sandy color. This is more of a sandy spring type of honey. okay, in the color. And so all of those dunes and those landscapes of musks I described before, they're not white to me. They're more silvery, ambery, sandy, beigey to me. And in fact, if we're really going to go there for the pearly perfume, as I've said in one of my reviews in the past, Eau Tendre by Chanel, the Eau de Toilette, even the Eau de Parfum, they are, to me, how a Chanel pearl would smell or look like. That's Eau Tendre, which is totally different from 1957. 1957 is a slightly fluffy, musky landscape, and it's also slightly dusty. And it's also creamy and it's powdery, and in that powdery dry down, and we're back to the dry down again, with the orris root, I have to say, now that even more time is passing, I'm finding another kind of, I'm turning another corner in that labyrinth, and I am sensing the jasmine. And it's kind of a jasmine with the added orris root, and it's so Chanel. Like we're back to old school Chanel. This is Chanel. We're talking Chanel, right? And it hides that facet. It's amazing. It's a wonderful, wonderful perfume. I will be purchasing the big bottle. I will. I really, really like it. I wasn't expecting anything from 1957. I thought, oh, it's probably going to be just one of, okay, so they're going to release it for the launch, for the opening of a boutique in New York. Who cares? They probably had very short amount of time to develop it and to think about it. It's probably not really thought through. Was it a coincidence? Was it an accident? Did it accidentally turn out to be so good and deceiving and kind of an illusion of a fragrance? Maybe. Or maybe they really did spend years to develop it. We'll never know, because Chanel has a tendency of never revealing these facts. But fact is, at least I can speak for myself on my skin, that dry down becomes magically Chanel. Like, not many of the Les Exclusifs post-20s have managed to really come to or go to. Not many. And let's finish off with beige. You know, that's the only Les Exclusifs I haven't reviewed. I really don't like it. There's honey in there too, more like a honeysuckle feel. But 1957 is the right way to deal with honey. Or envision honeysuckle. But that's a different type of smell altogether. But this one deals with it in a very different way. This one I really like. Beige, we'll have to wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you have, please do thumb it up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I am also on Patreon, Super Dacob all spelled together. If you wish to see videos before they hit YouTube or only exclusive to Patreon, you could help the channel grow by supporting me and becoming a patron on Patreon, Super Dacob all spelled together. You can also check out my merch, Never Give Up on Love. In the description box down below is the link to my merch. But there's also a bar underneath the video where you can check out the Never Give Up on Love merchandise by Super Dacob. I say never give up on love, and I shall see you in my next video. Love you all. Never give up on love. Bye.